some animals moving within the people because they're not harassed. So they are very friendly without any medication or whatever. They are just within the people because they find they are secure. So we have what we call the transboundary conservation. That's another set of conservation where we deal with neighboring countries to discuss how we can protect the animals from this side and that side, so that the one side cannot kill the animals. So that's what we're doing. We have transboundary with Kidipo National Park in Uganda. We have another transboundary cooperation with Imule National Park and those areas in Uganda. We're also going to have transboundary with Ethiopia, so that these animals are protected both here and there. So let us stop killing the animals so that they don't go to refuge.
Sounds of the Week on iRadio. You are on South Sudan. Live from Juba, on air and online.
This is iRadio News.
Hello, this is iRadio News. First, here are the headlines. An opinion survey has revealed a sharp decline in public trust in the peace process, with the majority of respondents saying the country is not at peace. The Acting Commissioner of Western Equatoria Mundri East County has clarified that the recent deployment of SSPDF forces at Kadibi Payam is aimed at stabilizing the area's security, following reports of residents fleeing over fears of renewed conflict. And Central Equatoria State Governor has issued a stern warning to government officials against engaging in corruption, stating that his administration will not tolerate any form of graft. These stories and more coming to you in this news bulletin with me, Diko Andrew, and now's the news in details. A new opinion survey has revealed a sharp decline in public trust in the peace process, with the majority of respondents saying the country is not at peace. The public participation survey conducted by researcher group Dr. Researcher and Advisory Shows says most respondents believe the country was not at peace in 2025. According to the survey, 1/3 of respondents believe the country was not at peace in 2024. The survey also revealed the majority of the respondents this year have negative views about peace process. The survey also noted a strong regional disparity in levels of trust and confidence in the transitional government. In Greater Bahar Gaza region, the survey says more than 70% of the respondents feel more trust with the transitional government compared to Upper Nile and Equatorial region. Dr. Jan Paspal, one of the lead researchers behind the studies, explained to iRadio on the Sun Up Down program yesterday.
Over the 6 years we are now running the survey, it has actually shown that until last year, the everyday security situation of citizens was improving more or less countrywide. From last year onwards, and we conducted a survey in April to June this year, there had been a significant decline in security in a lot of areas across the country. Whereas in Bargazal, in most parts, it's still very peaceful. In other parts, especially in Equatorius, but also in Upper Nile, there was a significant decline, and this has led to the result that from last year, 2/3 of the South Sudanese saying the country is at peace. We are now in less than half people saying the same this year, which is, also in comparison with the 6 years we've done this now, unprecedented decline.
For his part, Christopher Orange, a political analyst and lecturer at the University of Juba, says the funding recommended for the incorporation of community views in the peace and election process across the country.
The first recommendation that, based on the findings of we have analyzed in our recent data, we looked at the local or community views in this process, because it looks like the community are very much isolated or very much neglected in this process. So we will actually, from the survey, we will recommend that population, citizen voices should be incorporated into this process, so that we can see sustainable peace, and with sustainable peace, we'll see sustainable development coming into the country.
According to the researchers, the survey captured the views of 4,582 people from 15 locations across the 10 states and Greater Pibor administrative area over a period of 6 years. The survey data also showed some parts of Greater Bahar Ghazal feeling relatively secure. Meanwhile, Juba IDP camps, Yambio, Upper Nile showed a worrying drop in the sense of safety. In another news as well, Acting Commissioner of Western Equatoria, Mundri East County, has clarified the recent deployment of SSPDF forces at Kadibe, Payam, is aimed to stabilizing the area security following reports of residents fleeing over fear of renewed conflict. Speaking to local media this morning in Mundri town, Zelba Dawa confirmed the deployment of the South Sudan's People Defense Forces to Kadibe. Her statement comes amid a growing concern of a potential regency in a fighting which has reportedly caused some residents to leave the area. Commissioner emphasized that deployment of precautionary measures intended to reassure civilians to prevent further displacement.
وانا دير ودى ليتكم في مدوبة كدبة ما عندي مشاكل كدبة ده implementation of peace agreement جوز بتاع جيش شيلو أسان بشيلو بيجين في كدبة لكن ما شاكلة ما في أسان ميني عملوا peace agreement ما شيلو يعني حكومة بتاع جيش كان ما في هناك بتاع SSPDF لكن هسا شيلو هناك ده أنا دير كنت ليتكم وادي هسا أنا دير ونسو موتنين من فرحانين security بتومن كويس لانه انا كان ياما بونسو كلام ده السنه كوميشنر بتاع مندر ايسي بونسو لكن هسا هو لسه ما خلفه وانا ياو شيلو اكتنج ده يعني اداريا او سياسيا او security واي ثلاثه حاجات انا كله شيلو في جراتا مندر ده that's why انا قوري لكم متى كنت قال في مشاكل في بلد بتاعنا عنده سلام انا عنده سلام احسن من الاول ذاته بعد من كده مندر ايس مندر ويست لحد في منفولو ما عندنا مشكله كله
Kadibe Payam, located in Mundri East County, experienced significant insecurity and displacement last year due to the conflict involving armed groups and intercommunal tensions. These challenges have continued to impact stability and hinder the return of displaced residents. Central Equatoria State Governor has issued a stern warning to government officials against engaging corruption, stating that his administration will not tolerate any form of graft. Jacob Aligo, the State Minister of Peace Building and Acting Minister of Information, revealed this following the first cabinet meeting chaired by newly appointed Governor Rabi Mojang in Juba yesterday. Aligo said anti-corruption efforts are among the top priorities of the governor administration alongside peace building and inclusive development.
Top on these priorities are the issue of peace, security and unity in Central Equatorial State. His Excellency, the governor explained to the cabinet priorities in solving issues of peace and stability in the state and the issue of unity among the people and the government of Central Equatorial State. He also outlined the issue of social economic development, where he reiterated his readiness to work with all stakeholders, the investors, to attract investors and to work with the entrepreneurs in Central Equatorial State so that they can also contribute positively to the economic recovery of the state. He also warned of issues of corruption, and he said his government will not entertain any form of corruption.
According to Aligo, the governor also stressed the need for improved service delivery across all government institutions, urging them to redouble efforts in serving the public effectively. In addition, governor emphasized the importance of transparency and accountability as a foundational principle of good governance. He also pledged to support the State Relief and Rehabilitation Commission in strengthening disaster preparedness, emergency response, and provision humanitarian assistance. The South Sudan Bar Association has condemned the gang rape of Gumbo Sherikat girl captured in a disturbing video on social media and pledged legal support and victim and the family. Stephen Martin, the Secretary General of the association, urged the public refrain from sharing the graphic footage and related content on social media. Who spoke to iRadio this morning said the dissemination of such material is not only prohibited by criminalized under the South Sudan Penal Code Act of 28. He further stated that offense also constituted a severe violation of victim fundamental right of privacy. Advocate spoke to iRadio in a following interview this very morning.
The South Sudan Bar Association strongly condemned the recent horrific gang rape of young girl by 8 youths in Gumbo Sherikat. This act of sexual violence perpetrated by the criminal element in Juba, representing a grave assault on the victim's fundamental rights and moral fabric of our nation. The South Sudan Bar Association extends its deep sympathies to the young survivor and her family during these incredibly difficult times.
Stephen Martin also added that the South Sudan Bar Association will provide comprehensive pro bono legal service to the young victim and her family as well.
The Bar Association, through its Secretary General and Secretary of Legal Aid and Human Rights, immediately engaged with law enforcement agency, and we have strongly urged them to conduct a swift and thorough investigation to apprehend the perpetrators responsible for these heinous crimes and ensure they are brought for justice without any delay. The South Sudan Bar Association is fully committed to providing comprehensive pro bono legal services to the young victim. We plead to stand by her and her family, offering unwavering legal support until justice is fully served and accountability achieved.
Following the circulation of disturbing footage of the rape yesterday, police in Gumbo Sherikat arrested 4 young men. The incident has sparked widespread condemnation of human rights activists calling to an end of the gender-based violence. In another news as well, in Eastern Equatoria, a state have informed the information minister, says a severe drought is affecting several parts of the state, with many farmers losing their crops and livelihood. Speaking to iRadio on Thursday, Elias Al-Haj said its ongoing drying spell has destroyed high season crops and exceeded seed supplies, leaving farmers unable to replant the second season. And he happened to be saying this.
Only that people are experiencing a severe drought, crops are burned out. This is the major food insecurity actually, which is looming. This is climate change. The state government will have nothing to do. Rather than we are encouraging people now to diversify their resources of livelihood. What I mean here is people to resort to encouraging business activities. Because it's in business where you can get what you don't produce from other places. For the business to happen, the community has to maintain peace. Because peace is the prerequisite for this to happen. And this is what we are doing as a government, ensuring the state and business activities to carry on, and then for people to move freely.
The minister described the situation as a looming food crisis and said communities are increasingly worried about how they sustain themselves. While acknowledging the limited capacity of the state government, Ahaj urged citizens to consider defraying the sources of income, especially through small-scale businesses. He stated that the government was working to guarantee peace and free movement, to encourage trade, and allowed unrestricted humanitarian access. The minister urged farmers to keep farming as the effects of the climate change are unpredictable and rains may still come.
Farmers, they have lost their half-season crop. They are also completely burned down, and even this is the time which they're supposed to plant the second season crop. And some of them, the seeds were also burned down. Currently, the farmers have exhausted their capital and the seeds. Even they don't have the seeds now to replant in the places which have been burned down by the drought. And most of now they're supposed to be harvesting. And when these things were almost at the stages of flowering, they were all burned down, and it is very difficult now for the farmers to get food to sustain their families. Communities are worried. But we as the government, we are encouraging them to continue to farm because climate change is happening. We don't know, we could not predict when the rain will exactly come, but we hope it will come.
And with that being, we came to an end with the local news. Now to the international news with my colleague Helen Samuel.
Good afternoon, and here are some of the stories making headlines across the globe. Critics fear Kenya is sliding down the path of its neighbors Uganda and Tanzania, both of which are notorious for cracking down on dissent. Kenya has been hit by a recent wave of repression, tarnishing its reputation as a beacon of democracy in East Africa. Kenya's laws are widely regarded as being more progressive, particularly in protecting fundamental freedoms like the right to protest. But Kenya has witnessed an increasing crackdown on protests, the latest example being the killing of at least 10 people in nationwide demonstrations against President William Ruto's government while it attempted to ban live TV and radio coverage of the protests. Elsewhere, investigators have recovered flight recorder data from the Air India crash earlier this month. The Civil Aviation Ministry has confirmed, marking a key step in the probe. At least 270 people were killed when the London-bound Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner crashed less than a minute after taking off on 12th June from Ahmedabad Airport in western India. Investigators have earlier recovered both sets of enhanced airborne flight recorders, EAFRs, the black boxes from Boeing 787 crash site on 13th and 16th of June, one from a rooftop, the other from the debris. Finally, a young Syrian national has been charged with supporting a foreign terror group over a foiled plot to attack a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna last August. Mohammed A., who is described by German authorities as a juvenile and not in custody, is accused of following the ideology of jihadist group Islamic State (IS) and helping another suspect to prepare the attack. Concert organizers called off Taylor Swift's 3 sold-out gigs on the eve of the first show at Vienna's Ernst Happel Stadium last year, disappointing tens of thousands of fans during her Eras tour. Authorities arrested several suspects at the time, saying they appeared to have been inspired by IS and Al-Qaeda. Those are some of the stories from the international arena. Back to you in the studio.
Up next with the sport news with my colleague Akin.
Real Madrid have topped Group H at the FIFA Club World Cup after beating RB Salzburg 3-0 in Philadelphia. Under new manager Xavi Alonso, Real deployed a 5-man defense, a tactical shift from the traditional 4-3-3 with wing backs Trent Alexander-Arnold and Fran Garcia leading the charge. They now head to Florida to face Juventus in the round of 16 on July 1st. Meanwhile, Al Hilal of Saudi Arabia secured their place in the last 16 after a 2-0 win over Mexico's Pachuca. Goals came from Salim Al-Dawsari and Marcos Leonardo. Hilal finished second in Group H and will face Manchester City next. Erling Haaland netted his 300th career goal as Manchester City defeated Juventus in the heat of Orlando to top Group G. City will now meet Al Hilal in the round of 16 on Tuesday. In transfer news, Liverpool have signed Hungarian left-back Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth for 40 million euros, bringing their summer spending to 170 million euros. He joins Florian and Jeremy, both from Bayern Leverkusen. In boxing, Manny Pacquiao is preparing for a comeback title fight against Mario Barrios on July 19th in Las Vegas. The 46-year-old Filipino legend says the break has reignited his passion for the sport. He is training with longtime coach Freddy Roach ahead of the bout. And finally, Kenya's Faith missed her attempt to become the first woman to run a sub-4-minute mile. She clocked 4.04.42 in Paris at a Nike-sponsored event. However, the time won't count as an official record due to pacing assistance and gear regulations. Her official record of 4.07.64 set in 2013 still stands. That's all from the world of sport.
That had been the news to end this one. Let's go and remind ourselves with the headlines. A new opinion survey has revealed a sharp decline in public trust in the peace process, with a majority of respondents saying the country is not at peace. The Acting Commissioner of Western Equatoria, Mundri East County, has clarified that recent deployment of SSPDF forces Kadiba Payam is aimed to stabilizing the area security following reports of residents fleeing over fears of renewed conflict. And Central Equatoria State Governor has issued a stern warning to government officials against engaging in corruption, stating that his administration will not tolerate any form of graft. That's the end of iRadio News. If there is any stories or event you would love iRadio to cover and report about, please send us a text message on 0925287870. It's also our WhatsApp number. Following us on X at iRadio Juba, like our Facebook page iRadio, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at iRadio South Sudan. You can also visit our website and listen to us online at www.iradio.org. Stay tuned for news in Arabic at 1:30. I'm Diko Andrew. Thank you for listening.